About a week and a half ago, my phone just shut off out of the blue. Wouldn't turn on for like 30 minutes. I was basically having a meltdown.
Every single time we're in a restaurant, he's like, "Mommy, can I have your iPad?" And I'm like, "Can we just enjoy this fish?"
We all have these dreams of unplugging, and yet it seems impossible.
Hello, and welcome to Distraction, our show about life in what we call the age of distraction. How to manage it, what to do about it. You just heard some people fighting an uphill battle to tear themselves away from their electronic devices. Today we're going to get started exploring that obsession we have, so many of us, to our screens and the places they take us and don't take us. Whether it's reading work-related email all night long, sneaking off to play Candy Crush or visit your favorite other kind of site, or losing hours and hours of your life to Facebook, Pinterest, and shopping on Amazon. Our fixation for something to engage with seems limitless. You really need to be careful about this, because if you don't take charge, these devices will take charge of you. You just heard from some people who are struggling to tear themselves away from their smartphones, laptops, iPads, you name it. You'll hear more from those folks later in the show. Our first guest is someone who has strong opinions on our need to constantly check all of our texts, emails, and voicemails. Michael Schulson is the author of a very provocative article called "If the Internet is Addictive, Why Don't We Regulate It?"
When someone talks about feeling sucked into Facebook, even when the description of that event uses really strong language, the language of addiction, the language of compulsion, right? What ends up, the person who ends up getting blamed for this is the user. And what ends up getting described is that the user has really poor self-control. Mm-hmm. But what that seems to really miss is that a lot of these products and a lot of these tools are seemingly being designed. Actually, I say seemingly, are absolutely being designed to produce particular states of compulsion or absorption mm-hmm. that hijack user self-control. And really the genesis for this was wondering, why is it that we tend to blame the user instead of blaming designers? So with something like Facebook, for example, infinite scroll is is probably the most obvious case. So infinite scroll is when you're going through a web page, when you get to the bottom, it clicks it forward and keeps producing more material. You never reach the bottom of the page. And what this seems to do, and what this seems to be designed to do, is to continually draw you in. This particular product design consultant named Nir Ayal. So Nir he's out in California. He consults with major companies on building kind of compulsive products, or products that will suck you in certain ways. And what really struck me about his book is called Hooked. And he's very explicit in this book about creating products that in many ways mimic narcotics or mimic drugs, mimic things that we would consider illegal or a questionable utility for society, and that we would also consider pretty dangerous. When you post something on Facebook, you're not sure what you're going to get back, right? So you don't know whether a bunch of people are going to like it, and you're going to have this kind of positive feedback loop of likes, or whether your investment is going to plateau, right? And the uncertainty of what you're going to get out of that experience and the way that it's designed to produce that kind of hit or miss behavior ends up being part of what draws you in. I mean, as he points out, alcohol distillers can say, look, we don't know who the alcoholics are. You can't blame us, right? We sell the product, the alcoholics buy it, we have no idea who they are, right? Facebook knows who its versions of alcoholics are, and no one holds them accountable for that. There's very, very, very little sense that they're in any way responsible for this, or that they're in any way connected to this. It's completely put on the user. I think that that's really, really strange and seems to smack of certain kinds of unfairness.
Well, if you say Facebook is fully aware of this, and they even have somebody writing without shame that, he's very proud of his ability to design a way to sucker people in and hook them. I mean, that's it certainly should set off alarms. We shouldn't just give these people license to do that to us with no regulation whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's this sense that regulation involves the reduction of freedoms And there's been an enormous amount of nervousness about anything surrounding regulation with the web. And I think there are good reasons for that. I think
Sure.
It's extremely difficult, if not impossible, to regulate a lot of technologies. One idea, and I think it's a really interesting one, would be to be able to build into your browser as a required thing that web browsers give you, right? Are little things that let you set. Say, I want to spend no more than 30 minutes a day on Twitter.
Right.
Or I want to spend no more than an hour a day playing Angry Birds or whatever. And then when you go over that, the system has certain ways to kind of remind or nudge you that you're not doing what you want to be doing.
Yes. Well, Michael Schulson, author of If the Internet is Addictive, Why Don't We Regulate It? It's a powerful piece, and we'll put a link to the article on our website, distractionpodcast.com. And thank you, Michael, so much for joining us.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
As I said to Michael, I think he's on to something of profound importance that we all should take seriously as we take what we eat, what we pay attention to, what we allow ourselves to get involved with electronically has a tremendous impact on the quality of our lives. And again, you can't abstain from it any more than you can abstain from food, but you can be a highly selective consumer. It does take discipline, but more than that, it takes education. Be wise to how these people are drawing you in. Be wise to the tricks they're playing. It's like the manufacturers who load up the cereals with sugar to keep kids eating them. Be wise to this so you can push back, so that you can resist, so that you can take charge instead of it taking charge of you. The Internet and our electronics are wonderful. I love them. I use them all the time. But if I'm not careful, they will take me away from what matters most to me in life, as opposed to enriching what matters most to me in life. Clearly, the web is a profound temptation for many, including Layla.
About a week and a half ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, my phone just shut off out of the blue. Wouldn't turn on for like 30 minutes. I was basically having a meltdown.
Now,
There's always something happening.
Who are these personal messages from?
Mom, dad, sister, brother.
Mostly family.
Yes.
So it sounds like, in your case, your phone is like a companion. It's where you stay in touch with your family.
Yeah, for sure. Honestly, I love my parents very much, but even if I say I'm going to a movie, if either or both of them forgets that I said that, rather than go back and look at their text messages or what have you, they'll call me and keep calling. And if I don't answer, oh my God, send the police to the apartment.
You're not alone. Lots and lots and lots of people are very attached to their electronic devices. The way most people do it is to train the people who are trying to get in touch with you. In other words, it's got to be two-way.
Right.
So you say, Mom and Dad, I'm going to cut back on my availability, and I'll only check my cell phone at 9 a.m., noon, 3 p.m., and 6 p.m. Mm-hmm. And don't try to reach me at other times. So you have to revise their expectations too. Right. Yeah. Well, good luck in controlling it.
Yeah. Is there medication for that?
It's called the off button.
Right. Power off. Yeah.
Thanks, Layla.
Thank you.
Take care. What if Layla tried something simpler? Use the phone as a phone and nothing more. The very creative guys, Joe Hollier and his partner Kai Wei Tang, I hope I pronounced that properly, have come up with a clever option. We spoke with Joe about the idea he and Kai Wei created.
So we're building the Light Phone. It's basically a credit card-sized cell phone that only makes phone calls. And the idea is that it's your phone away from phone. It keeps your same phone number, gives you access to 10 speed dial contacts, and limits which calls actually forward through to your Light Phone. But basically, it encourages you to leave the smartphone behind and step away to enjoy some quality time in the moment, but still maintaining that peace of mind that if you needed to be reached or reach someone, you can.
Right.
We were studying how people related to their smartphones, and we realized that everyone was habitually overwhelmed. The products that we were using on our devices were actually engineered to use our vulnerabilities against us. I found myself bringing my smartphone with me and, not enjoying my day as much as I could because I was bothered by things like email. And I sort of had this realization that our smartphones aren't really phones, they're computers, but because they're sort of masked as our phone, we end up bringing them everywhere. Mm-hmm. When you consciously make the choice to leave the phone behind and go light, as we like to call it, there's this initial anxiety that you feel. I mean, it's less and less each time you go where you forget about, the sort of things you're missing out on. You actually just get distracted by the present.
Yes.
So actually, one of our early users told us that, she had never really thought about the idea that she could go to the park on a Saturday by herself without her smartphone as something that she could do. It just wasn't really encouraged on social media. It wasn't shareable. It wasn't Instagrammable. On one side, the object is this tool that allows you to make a phone call, and it's very slim and it fits in your pocket. But on the other side, we want it to be this aspiration and this reminder that, hey, when's the last time I stepped away? And
right.
What I'm learning is that a half hour a day, an hour a day, or, a couple of 15-minute breaks can be really powerful.
Yes.
For me, I find it as the most appreciative that I am.
Right.
I think the internet too often, the smartphone, the Instagram, it tries to make me feel like I'm not enough or I should have more and I should want more. And so it's just that little reminder that, hey, my life is awesome. Stop complaining and remember that daily.
He made an interesting point. We'll put a link to the Light Phone on our website. You do not have to be a slave to your devices, but you do need to set boundaries. Take back control. Maybe we all need a digital detox.
The average American spends 60 hours each week surfing the web and currently owns 4 digital devices.
That's author Susan Scuti, who published her research on the subject in Medical Daily in a great article about the digital detox.
My job itself is sort of a digital onslaught. I sit at a computer all day and I go through massive amounts of information, and by the end of the week, and this is an end of the week, I am ready for a digital detox. When your attention is pulled constantly in different directions, I think it's very difficult to retrain yourself to concentrate and pay great attention when you need to. I think the only way to achieve that is by stepping away from the computer, putting down the phone, not turning on the objects that are surrounding us. Most of what we receive is not pressing, not relevant to our immediate lives, and not important.
Not only is it unimportant, it can make you feel bad about yourself.
To anyone older who remembers a time before social media, all the results and findings of any of these studies seem fairly obvious that it cultivates narcissism in the people who use them, that people reading their friends' posts, which only show, glamorous dinners at glamorous restaurants, beautiful vacations, bragging, basically, that reading these posts, we all feel our self-image diminished. It creates anxiety in us, and we start to feel depressed. It's how it makes them feel bad. One of my coworkers was talking about just seeing friends from high school talking about buying a house. She and her husband are not ready to buy a house, and yet they feel, yet both of them feel inadequate because they'll see friends who have better paying jobs, talking about this online, and yet she hasn't seen the actual house. She's out of touch with these friends other than on Facebook, and yet it still affects her.
Thanks, Susan. The article is called Digital Detox, What It Is and Why You Need One, and believe me, we all need one. Read more about how you can free yourself from stress and anxiety. We'll put a link to the article on our website, distractionpodcast.com. Okay, we've been talking about the patterns you have that lead you to waste time doing what I call screen sucking, just sort of mindlessly using one device or another rather than doing what really matters in your life. In my own case, I can be a compulsive email checker, and I check my iPhone not 2 or 3 times an hour, 2 or 3 times a minute. It's a habit that I'm trying to break. It is very distracting. These patterns keep us from doing what we really want to be doing. The good news is they are habits that can be broken. The bad news is they can get us into all kinds of time-wasting situations if we're not careful. Each of our producers agreed to sit down while we listened in and timed them to see just how far gone they are in terms of screen sucking.
I would say I probably check in with Facebook 3 to 5 times a day. Oh, God. Freaking animal video. I have to watch it. Oh, my God. This elephant is literally just sitting on people's laps like a lap dog. It's precious.
Okay, I am on just a news site. Sometimes I like to read the news because I don't watch it. 28-year-old arrested following animal cruelty investigation. Ooh. There's her mugshot.
All right, so I'm going to launch Instagram. So I think Ellen DeGeneres is really funny, but I don't watch her show at all. So she's got a funny picture of her in what looks like a Liberace kind of outfit. And this is nothing that I need to know.
Oh, my gosh. Eating chocolate makes you smarter? Click.
I'm always interested in the drama. It's horrible. Officials, 4-year-old shot mom, unsure how he got gun.
There's this woman. She is documenting the death of her dog, his slow demise. I don't want that into my life, and yet there it is.
I'm seeing stuff about cool teenage bedrooms. I don't have a teenager. You just totally zone out. And so I'm scrolling and scrolling and scrolling.
All right, so that was uneventful and a complete waste of my time.
I got really conscious of how much time I was wasting and how much my son saw me on the phone. And he would say, "Can I do Instagram with you, Mommy?" And I'm like, oh, let's go do something else.
Why do we do that? Something that's a waste of my time. I know it's a waste of my time. I'm not gaining anything from it, but I still do it. It's like totally mindless.
So wait, how long did I do that? Oh my God, like 8 minutes.
Yeah, 6 times 3 is like 18 minutes a day. So that's probably the least amount of time I've spent on it.
I just spent 10 minutes doing that?
None of this helps my life.
All right, I need to shut this off.
She's right. Shut it down. Turn it off. Move on with your life. All right, consider this. According to Informate Mobile Intelligence, Americans spend an average of 5 hours on their smartphones every day. Okay, now I want us all to do something together that will help us all be safer. Commit to being a safe, distraction-free driver by taking the pledge to drive phone-free at distraction.gov, the official U.S. government website for distracted driving. And the fact that there is such a website at all proves to you how important this issue is. It's become like drinking and driving. Using cell phones while you're driving is really dangerous. We'll also put it on our own website. High schoolers and their parents all across the country are making this pledge to be safe drivers. And I am too. Do it with me. We're obviously living in a digital world, and that's not going to go away. In fact, we don't want it to go away. It's really fun. It's really exciting. It opens up worlds of possibility in terms of running your life, starting a business, finding romance, selling something, buying something, you name it. We can now do it in ways undreamt of in history. So it's a wonderful world to be living in. At the same time, you got to be careful. You don't want to get overloaded in terms of screen time. So we'd love to hear from you what suggestions you have, because this is all uncharted territory. What suggestions do you have? What tricks and tips do you have that we could share with our listeners? We're really trying to create a community around this. So connect with us. Go to our website, distractionpodcast.com. Email your comments and questions at connect@distractionpodcast.com. And please rate us on iTunes and leave a review. That really helps us with ratings. And as you can imagine, getting a podcast started, getting out to the numbers that we really hope to reach, we depend on you. So help us out. Just go to iTunes and rate us and write a review. Thanks so much. Distraction is produced by Collisions, the podcast division of CRN International. Collisions, podcasts for curious people.